Good morning, everyone. We are very happy to have today here with us Lueny Morell. Lueny is currently a member of the strategy team at HP Laboratories. So she basically works for the Hewlett-Packard company. Lueny education started in Puerto Rico, where she got her bachelor in chemistry, and then she continued for the master that she got from the University of Stanford. Before joining HP in 2002, Lueny was working for 24 years at the University of Puerto Rico, where she was a full professor of chemical engineering. And Lueny is an IEEE senior member and a member of a bunch of other associations, and she also is within certain National Science Foundation advisory committees. And she got different prizes, including the 2006 Bernard M. Gordon Prize and the 2009 Academic Merit Medal. So we are very glad to have her here. And you probably should know, too, that she is also a member of this school advisory committee. And I think that what she's going to tell you is going to be much more interesting than this. So I just would like to quote her, because I think the sentence is quite revealing about her view. And she says, "I'm passionate about innovation, collaboration, and engineering education as the foundation for sustained economic and social growth." So now...
Thank you, Miguel. It's a pleasure to be here today. Yo hablo español, pero me han pedido que hable en inglés. Así que, castellano, como le dicen ustedes. Así que, it's a pleasure to be here today to share with you some ideas, share with you some of our technology challenges in HP Labs, and as well as what kind of skills, competencies, values the future technology leaders will need to be successful in the world today. So with nothing more ado, this is what I'm going to try to share with you today. It's quite a big agenda, so I'm going to go rather quickly, but don't hesitate to interrupt, ask questions, because if you leave questions to the end, they'll probably you'll forget about. I'll forget about, and you will forget about the question initially. So I will be talking about some facts regarding innovation, how we do innovation in HP Labs. HP Labs is the central corporate research lab which is developing the future technologies that will be in the market in 5 to 10 years. So all the business units in HP Labs, they do research and development, but it's to enhance existing products and services, the ones that you already seen. So these business units integrate ideas that come from labs, but then we also do research to establish the next frontier, the future of technology. And as you know, HP is the largest IT company in the world. So we're sort of the pace setters of IT in the future. And then I'll be talking about implications for engineering and engineering education, sort of what it means to understand these challenges and these opportunities, and how can engineering and science and IT education could develop to grab or to leverage what we're doing in corporate labs like us. So I'm going to start with a question. Some of you may have seen the answer because I showed, I tested one of the slides. What are some word descriptions that describe innovation? One word descriptors of innovation. Innovation is equal to what? What? Future. What else? Evolution. What else? Creativity. One more. Money. Yeah, wealth. Yes. So they're all there. Innovation is equal to all of those and more. New products, new processes. It's about failure. Sometimes in education, failure is punished. In HP Labs, we have a saying, some of the labs have them very big, that say, let's make a lot of mistakes, and we have to make them faster than the competitors. So mistakes are the best way to learn. So it should not be punished. We learn. it's all about humbleness. Sometimes you think you know everything, and you know when you're trying new things that you don't know everything. You have to work with others. So I think my definition of innovation is bringing people together with ideas and resources to drive economic and social wealth or development. And I'm going to show you a definition. This is about a conference that was held actually here in Europe of innovators. And you see their definition.
Innovation is producing something new. Whether this is a service or a product or a new market that's being developed, that to me is innovation.
Invention is turning money into ideas, and innovation is turning ideas into money.
Innovation is really the catalyst for economic growth, right? In order for companies to grow and succeed, they need to be innovative. That's simply the nature of today's economy.
The world has changed, and so if Europe doesn't innovate, the others won't stop doing it for our sake. We have to, if we want or not.
It's the introduction of a new process or product, and that can occur whether it's in a business setting or government setting or a philanthropic social setting.
Creating value for users and adding new ways of doing things that people hadn't thought about before, and just making it intuitively useful.
Innovation is all about turning ideas into commercially viable opportunities which create jobs, create new companies, and create the growth that we need in Europe.
It's not so much about figuring out how to make the next $1 billion or how to create big new industries, but rather bringing tools closer to people, figuring out new, more efficient ways of doing things that hadn't been thought of before.
We need new ways to foster innovation in today's economy. It's as simple as that. Without innovation, companies die, and without innovation, ultimately societies die too.
Innovation means that we bring all of the wonderful scientific research that we have all the way along a chain till we get it into products. We sell it on the market. We develop products and create products that the markets are there for and that people will want to buy. And that's, at the end of the day, how we can develop research to retail.
An improvement of something that already exists or introducing something totally new. It's not only about technology, it's also about organization.
Perhaps turning traditional ways of doing things upside down and making it much more effective, and therefore having a much broader reach and much bigger audience.
So you've heard different definitions from the point of view of the enablers, the catalyzers of ideas into products and services. For all the above reasons, but to make a contribution to society, to solve problems of society, but as well as create demand for these technologies. So it's a two-way street. Sometimes you push, and sometimes the need to pull ideas into technology, and this is not other than what engineers do. Engineers turn science and theory into practice to make a better world. So all of us in engineering should take a look at this kind of, I call it a culture, a mentality, because this is the kind of person that we need outside. When we graduate, we're going to make a difference outside, whether it's social good or it's a company or it's a government entity. We're going to make a difference in the world out there. And technology, by its nature, is entrepreneurship. This is the famous garage where Hewlett and Packard developed their initial oscilloscope back in the 1950s. And why they did this, because they had ideas, and they came together and said, let's try this. And their professor at Stanford motivated them to continue. Sometimes education is so squared and so limiting that these ideas do not advance beyond that. So this is something that the culture and the mindset needs to be catalyzed, or needs to be enabled by leaders, by leadership in education. And innovation is spreading at an ever increasing rate. This chart here demonstrates the time the number of years that innovations spread to 25% of the US population, how long it took to 1/4 of the US population to use the car. It took 55 years to use automobiles. It took 35 years for the telephone to be used by 25% of the population. It took 22 years for the radio, 16 years for the PC, 7 years to the internet, and Facebook and how long did it take to reach 25% of the population? Less than a year. So it's an ever-increasing innovation rate. But the situation is that those that create innovations, people, individuals, are the most difficult to find. Companies say in this survey that finding talented people is the single most important preoccupation around the globe. And why is that, finding talented people? We're going to make a definition very soon. We're going to be talking about skills and competencies, because there's a mismatch between what universities are graduating, the professionals that universities are graduating, and what is needed out there. So there's a big gap that we need to build a bridge between university and the outside world. More and more, we need expert thinking. It's not routine work anymore. It's not plug and chug, replacing numbers in equations. It's to develop new equations. It's to develop new products, something that's not been developed or thought of before. McKinsey also did this survey around the world, 83 different companies around the world. They asked if we had 100 jobs to place engineers or finance or a generalist in these countries, how many would you hire from these companies? And you can see that in Latin America, where I come from, Brazil, 13% of graduates in engineering are employable. In China, only 10%. They graduate a lot of technologists and engineers, but only 10% are employable. The survey did not include Europe and the US. But the problem is the same. The skills and competencies of graduates are not those that are needed outside there. Because universities focus a lot on content, theory, and that is needed outside. But you need other skills and competencies that are not developed in undergraduates, in students. The magic formula for innovation, as we see the models around the world, takes 2 universities, one strong in sciences and engineering, and another probably in liberal arts and management, that come together and collaborate. You need large corporations that are interested in developing new technologies and new services. You need a sister city with mature economy that you can pull talent from. You need sector growth. Sometimes countries, they want to become like India. Oh yes, everybody can become like India. But if you have something that makes you unique, like I went to Panama a few years ago, and the rector there said, oh, we want to become like India. And I said, with all my due respect, Mr. Rector, what does Panama have that few countries around the world, few regions around the world has? And it's the Panama Canal. So Panama should be experts in logistics. And if there will be some visionary thinkers, that would be an area, a sector that you would leverage your geography and your positive things around. And you also need policies, rule of law, infrastructure, culture of innovation, mobility, allowing people to go to different places to get knowledge from other different sectors. This is what happened in Silicon Valley. This is happening in Taiwan. Taiwan is an island 4 times my island. And they were agriculture economy in the beginning of the 20th century. And you go now, it's a high developed area. And they brought in the whole value chain to develop their economy. Not only manufacturing, but they're developing ideas, development, prototyping, manufacturing, marketing and sales and distribution. So they have the whole value chain in their technology centers. Bangalore is starting to be like that in India. So the dynamics is, as you can see around the world, where are the centers of innovation around the world? You see Silicon Valley here, they call it dynamic ocean because it's well established. This is the number of patents produced. Tokyo, you see Chicago, Boston, San Francisco. But you also see the ones that are emerging, the little ones. And look, this is where Bangalore, India is. They're emerging very quickly. They're not producing many patents right now, but they're for sure, because of all the elements that I mentioned before, they will become also high centers of innovation. So knowledge-based economies are understand. For me, the definition of knowledge-based economies is very simple. It's economies or countries or regions that understand and use knowledge for betterment of their society. For example, the economies that they understand what's done best, what are the opportunities, who are the competitors for their region. For example, Valencia could compete with, I don't know, Madrid or Barcelona for certain things. Or Spain can compete with Ireland or Portugal. Or, you need to know where you are, who's your competitor, and then work to enhance your positive things. And knowledge-based economies, what they do is they address their challenges here in the center, and what they do is create jobs for people and bring people to jobs. And across the whole value chain that I mentioned before, from basic research and development to commercialization, manufacturing, and sales. Many people, many countries, I go around, except those that have understood knowledge-based economies, they just start here in manufacturing. They bring ideas from other parts of the world because this creates a lot of jobs, but they are low-paying jobs. And my position is that every country in the world has talent and has people that can do this, create new ideas to start the whole value. This is what actually Taiwan did. So they were manufacturing, but then they expanded their clusters. You have to select your clusters in order to grow. You cannot go to all the technology areas in the world because then you diversify too much. Muchos huevos en la canasta, eh? So you have to select your thrust areas. And then once you know, and this question, who decides this? These questions is the combination or the joint work of education, governments, and companies. If university says, if the academic sector says, these are the clusters because this is what we do, and the government says, no, we're going to go with these technology clusters, and then you have industry in the middle doing their stuff, but they don't communicate with each other, you're lost. It's answering these questions together and enhancing the synergy between the three, investing, understanding the people, and sharing people, ideas, and resources to go in the same direction. So these, when you know your economic clusters, then you know what skills, competencies, and values you need to graduate from universities, which then decides what are the curricula that we need to establish or reform in the university to create the people that will move society. That will create, I'm a very positive person, as Pepe knows, so to create brain gain instead of brain drain. Because when these issues go separately, then what you have is people leaving to other countries and to other economies where they have gotten their act together. So create value that nowhere else has. Yes. It's funny because I was just thinking about it, like how come like longevity and technological competencies that all these states, maybe a few Germany or Sweden, but as you can see like the huge big companies out in the States. Yes. That's exactly, in my view, that's the reason. Because where you have these groups working together, It's not that they're 100% efficient working together, but they know about each other and sort of invest in the same areas and walk the same roadmap, then everybody's happier. When everybody's talking, I went to Tucson, Arizona once, about 10 years ago. And we met a group of Puerto Ricans. We were interested in this issue, and my bio says that we created what is called the Puerto Rico Techno-Economic Corridor, where our University of Puerto Rico, the pharmaceutical industry, the IT industry, and the government, we wanted to develop the area, the western area of Puerto Rico. So we went to benchmark. We went to Tucson, Arizona, and met with government, universities, and other companies. Everybody talked the same language. It was like they were from a religious group, like evangelists. Each different sector will speak in the same language. We have these clusters. We're investing in this. Everybody knew the university was responding to those challenges, and it was excellent. So this is what I'm talking about. So what are some of the obvious facts regarding innovation? First, some people say that universities have the best talent in the world. That's not true. HP used to think we're the biggest IT company. We can survive by ourselves. It's not true. Since the beginning, we've partnered with universities because we were born. The company was born out of the university system, inside a university. So we partner a lot with universities. Invention does not necessarily lead to innovation. Sometimes people have ideas, but they're just ideas. They're filed, lost, because they don't know how to pursue the idea further, how to make it a product. So financial resources are limited. Sometimes in design projects in universities, the cost of a design is never involved in the formula. You design something like you have all the resources in the world. And that's not reality. Reality is that you have a limited amount of resources to develop the idea, to market the idea, and to sell it to the outside world. So the cost issue, the business constraints have to be integrated in everything you do. Market pressures require ever-decreasing cycles of innovation. When I joined HP 10 years ago, coming from the university, it's like speed of light. Universities are, I don't know, you're not chemical engineers, but the most difficult item to move is called a slurry, like toothpaste. It takes a lot of effort to move a little bit, like ketchup. You have to push it hard to flow. Universities are very slow in responding, and that's nature of university. It doesn't mean that the two worlds have to be the same, but you have to understand that in the outside world, in order to innovate, you have to make mistakes like Apple does. Apple created the iPad 1, and 6-8 months later, 1 year, iPad 2, because there are some flaws. And then you have to innovate and keep recycling the ideas. Without sufficient profit or government funding, in the short term, long-term innovation may not be viable. This is why we need partnerships within the three sectors. Multidisciplinary approaches are more likely to result in technology disruptions. When you have something, when you're bringing ideas from different points of view, something clicks here in the brain. When you see the problems other people have, not only technology problems, but real-life problems, then you have to be exposed to those problems. How can you innovate or create something that never existed if you're always sitting in front of your computer? You have to go outside the world. You have to go to other countries to understand. And you can also innovate products and processes. Sometimes people say, well, I need a new product. Processes that create products or processes that develop services to society can also be innovated. What do we do in HP Labs? In HP Labs, the vision of HP Labs is the future of the connected world. That's how we see how we see ourselves in the future, or how can we be enablers of the future. And how we see this is making information more accessible, more insightful to make better decisions for more of the world's people. That's how we view the work we do. So we deliver breakthrough technologies and technology advances. We create new opportunities for our business, or HP, to sell, and our customers. We advance fundamental science, and in that area, it's very similar to universities. Okay, it's scientific research. And we also engage with customers and partners, as I mentioned before, because we realize that talent lies everywhere, not only HP. So these are our research areas in HP. I'm going to briefly describe each one. So you have printing and content delivery, mobile and immersive experience, cloud and security, information analytics, intelligent infrastructure, networking and services. And in the middle, we have sustainability as sort of the core that unites everything we do. So we want to make IT sustainable and IT help sustain the world. So that's how we view that. So it integrates in everything we do. I'm going to go very quickly through this. Let me see how long I have, 30 minutes. If you have any questions, I'm not an expert on this because I'm a chemie. I work more in the strategy group and also building collaborations in research. So we call them big bets. In printing, we call them, the projects that we investing heavily. Printing processes for digital commercial print automation, document life cycle, and automated publishing. Somebody asked me about 3D publishing. We're doing that as well. We're doing also 3D imaging and capturing for digital. Mobile and immersive experience, this is where we're doing the continuous 3D that I mentioned before. Rich and intuitive user experiences. Seamless collaboration, developing ways how people can collaborate at a distance without having to be face-to-face. Social computing, next generation displays, flexible and all that, interactive. In cloud and security, we have Sirius. It's an enterprise cloud platform, and automated security. So this is very important for everybody around the world, and especially for us in HP. I was sharing, every time I turn on my computer, I have to wait a long time. I have encryption, I have 2 passwords. One of them is 12 characters long. I mean, it's heavy security. And then if you're doing something that, some software or solution in the cloud where you're going to have competitors also sharing the cloud, you have to make sure that nobody steals a $3 billion movie that you're rendering for DreamWorks, for example. So security is a heavy issue. Analytics, redefining the twin task of taming and exploiting information for decision making. And then we have taming the information explosion, how to manage all this data. Live business intelligence, I'll show you an example of what we're doing, and informatics. In intelligent infrastructure, we're exploring radical new approaches for collecting, processing, and storing data to build the backbone of a sustainable society. In order to be sustainable, we think we need to collect data, analyze data, and make informed decisions. But that's a ton of data. It's exabytes and exabytes of data. So how to do that? We need to address the Moore's law. How can we process more and store more in less space? So we're doing next generation data centers, scalable storage. You see the cloud, and in many cases, replacement for the DRAM and disk using non-volatile memory like the memristor, nanoscale sensors to sense the world, and also photonics to replace copper in the data center. Networking and communication, we need to communicate and enhance communication. So we have flexible programmable networks is a big bet there. In terms of service, applying mathematics and science, these are the people who are from another planet for me, because they're mathematicians and people. It's very difficult to talk to them, but apply mathematics and scientific method. They're taping this. Shouldn't have said that. Apply mathematics, science, and to develop services that drive effective informed businesses. Analytics for personalization for individuals and for operations, and technology-enabled services. So a lot of mathematics here. And then finally, sustainability, where this is changing as we speak, because this is going from developing sustainable data centers. We've already done that. we have gone to the home, measuring by sensors the energy usage and how to make decisions. Everybody knows how much he or she is consuming. So to make better decisions on how to reduce the consumption of energy. And then we're moving now. The big bet is not going to be called a big bet anymore, but it's going to be like cities, the infrastructure of the future, cities of the future. We have the major lab in Palo Alto, and then we have other 6 labs around the world, none in the southern hemisphere, as you can see, unfortunately. And I'm going to show you how HP was born many years ago. This is a little movie about the origins. You can see the motivation of this and the skill sets of these 2 individuals that created HP and helped initiate what's called now Silicon Valley.
They'd have done terrific things, I think, by themselves. But together, they were extraordinary.
So you ask what kind of people were they? They were giants. They really were. They're just amazing people.
The genius was not that they had all of the perfect tools, but that they had a drive and an energy and an entrepreneurship, a creativity.
So Dave and Bill were people who just loved and benefited from change. It didn't matter how big HP got. To them, change was something that they always looked at and said, where is the opportunity?
We hope that the people that will follow us will have the same ideas. They're not going to be exactly the same, but I don't think that a lot of these fundamental positions are going to change very much. They're too ingrained in the organization.
What we've tried to engender is this attitude that it's everybody's business to do a good job. Hopefully we'll all benefit if we do so.
It's hard to find anyone in the history of business who's been able to create more, both in terms of business success and in terms of the culture and the type of company that's respected all over the world. That in and of itself is a pretty amazing story.
You could listen here to some of the keywords: ingenuity, creativity. You saw Hewlett and Packard talk to people, interact. They didn't work alone. They always worked between them and with other people as well. So those are the things that you have to be aware now during your development years here at the university and after when you graduate and go to a company. So how we call it in HP is we do innovation with a purpose. At HP Labs, we sometimes do innovation. We don't know the purpose, because it's very scientific. We don't know exactly where this is going to lead. But not all of the research we do in HP Labs is like that. It's only 1/3 of what we do is people that have these crazy ideas. We don't know where it's going to lead, but we give them the space to work on it. Because it might, who knows where it's going to end. Like the nanotechnology right now, it's very early or medium early development in developing that. But how we do this, we look at the challenges in the outside world, like energy, education, healthcare, and then we intersect our research areas like digital transformation, cloud computing, and sustainability with those. We call them, these are verticals and these are horizontal. Sometimes they're depicted the other way around. So we do it with a purpose. We know what are the challenges out there, and then we try to address them somehow. But the challenge of innovation is very difficult. Many companies, many universities, and many governments, they want innovation because they know it's one of the key elements of knowledge-based economies. But sometimes, or oftentimes, they're very dissatisfied with the outcomes. Because innovation takes establishing a culture, it's a mindset. It takes the sourcing of ideas, bringing the ideas from different perspectives together, which means bringing people together. You need a process and a governance. I used to manage research in my institution, and I wish I knew then what I know now about, managing research at an institution. Managing ideas as projects, So then you can measure outcomes and decide whether or not to pursue the idea further or not. And then you have to reward people, either with a pat in the back or with a check. But then there is the people element in all of this, because everything we're talking about here is about people. It's people. So the value, you can see here the value. When you have a culture, you extend engagement and collaboration because you're open to ideas. You don't criticize others. You are humble. I don't know everything. I will share my ideas with other people and see how can we together elaborate more. When you have this idea of sourcing, let's look for ideas everywhere, then you identify opportunities that you never thought before. When you have a process, then you improve decision-making, how to fund a project further, or when to cancel a project. Managing ideas, projects, and ideas are aligned to outcomes. You keep measuring what you thought you were going to do to the expected outcomes. You measure outcomes, there is a return. You say, I invested this amount of money and these people's time, and this is what we got. So the in versus the out, the return on investment. And then rewards and recognition reinforces the culture, which then it's a cycle. So how do we innovate at HP Labs? Is IBM here? Nobody from IBM? Okay, thank goodness. No, it's okay. This is open presentation. So what we do is, who creates the idea? People, employees' ideas, community ideas. We share papers. We talk to people all over the world. I spoke with your department chair, with Eduardo and with Pepe and with Miguel. And all of a sudden, you're doing this. Perhaps we can work together on this idea. So this is the way, the networking, okay? So we call it the garage state, like Hewlett and Packard's garage in Palo Alto. Actually, if you go to Palo Alto in California, you get to visit the garage, the regional garage. And then there's a team that reviews the idea. It's initial review. And then we bring in the business units. There's the business units and the business aspect of the innovation. Does this make sense? Is there a market out there? Would this be beneficial to a lot of people? And then you get this, and then you get a business sponsor. This part is the most difficult. Somebody to buy your idea. And say the business unit comes in and says, yes, I'd like to acquire this idea and put it and develop it further for the market. This takes a lot of presentations, negotiation. All of these skills are very important. I'm going to talk about skills very soon. So how to sell an idea to somebody. When that somebody gets 1,000 ideas, you have to be very succinct, to the point. It's not a thesis that you're sharing. It's not a 100 pages document. It's a very short. Actually, the projects in HP Labs are 2-page documents, the proposals to projects. You have to put everything in 2 pages. Okay? And so then the implementation, so the innovation goes out to market. So I mentioned this, it's exploratory research, applied research, and advanced development, so 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. We have large projects and small, medium-sized projects, and they're developed from the bottom up. Reviewed and approved by business and advisory, technical and advisory boards. And then we have the tech transfer. This is that diagram. And then open innovation, which is what I do. Working together with academia, industry, and government to bring in the resources, the ideas, and the people together. I just spoke about this, so I'm going to skip this one. Many laboratories, corporate labs, if you went to them 20 years ago, in HP as well, they were closed innovation model. They would get a lot of ideas from inside the company and put them on a funnel and analyze the projects to create a product or a service. But it was only inside, closed innovation. Now, it's an open innovation model where you get ideas from all over, and you also spin off companies in the same market, or you create a new market. Like when HP created the printer, it was a new market. There were no printers before. Maquinillas, typewriters. So it was a new market. And then you spin off companies and you combine projects and create, it's more open, it's more collaborative, what we do right now. For universities, we have this program, the Innovation Research Program. We establish a request for proposal every year. I think by this time, it's almost closed right now. We've received proposals from all over the world. And it's not by invitation. Anybody can compete. And we launched it in 2010, and there's a specific targeted of research topics that are aligned with our research interests in HP Labs. And then the awards are between $50 and $100K per year up to 3 years. This was my idea, because I thought if we're going to go to universities, we need students that are in their PhDs probably, and it's fair that they get support for up to 3 years. So these are the universities we have this year, 2011. The RFPs, there's none in Spain right now, but we have had in Spain in the past. And these are this is the the first year we ran the project. These are some of the outcomes. The number of papers, the patents that were in process, impressive. We never expected this. So students and faculty working with our researchers, they learn to do research with a purpose and defending your intellectual property. Because at the end of the chain, there has to be something tangible. It's not a thesis or a paper only. You're working your research towards something that's going to become real at the end of the road. I had this idea, and in 2009, I said, well, professors need, or future professors need to be engaged in this kind of thinking. We need to change the way things are running in universities. Remember, I spent 24 years in universities, in the University of Puerto Rico, so I said, how can we change the person who has the most influence in the lives of individuals in a university? It's the professor. So I went to NSF, the National Science Foundation of the US, and said, well, let's do a project where postdocs who have earned their PhD but are doing some work before they are hired by a university could spend some time in research labs so that they become aware of market needs and work with other companies and learn how to write and defend a patent, those kinds of things. So the NSF said they jumped. They had extra money because of the stimulus funding that President Obama put up. So they had money. And we created this program for the research fellows, where 1/3 was paid by us, by industry, 2/3 by the government. 47 companies in the US put their projects, 160 projects. There were only funds for 40, so we're very competitive. And 500 postdocs in engineering only. This was only engineering. Well, computer engineering was included for 40. Very popular. So NSF has this program, has established this program. It's running this year. It's been running since. And last year, I convinced them to do this for the master's and PhD students as well. So students that get fellowships from the National Science Foundation have the opportunity to spend 1 summer or 2 summers with corporate labs. So we got 4 this summer, but they expanded to all the technology, to all science and engineering. And it's a larger program. It's much bigger. How we work with other companies, with institutions, this is an example of what we call Cirrus Cloud Research Testbed. It's open innovation with industry, academia, and government partners. Multi-data center, multi-geography, multi-tenant, open, secure, internet scale cloud to test, to do research, and to try your application. So anyone, if you go to I didn't put the website here, but if you do this, Google this Cirrus, you can find, your center, and if you have your requirements, you can actually apply and become a user to do research or to try your stuff over there. They have 2 conferences every year. Last year, the last one was in St. Petersburg, and the other one in Georgia in the US. How we work with companies in innovation, this is an example. When the first movie, Shrek, was being developed, the artists in Southern California, they needed a lot of computing power in the last stages of putting the movie together. But they didn't have the capacity down in Southern California. So they, HP Labs talked to them. They came to an agreement to say, we were developing the cloud system, the cloud platform, and say, well, let's run the movie here in our data center, and the artists will remain there in Southern California. They will not understand where it's running, and they will become unaware of this. And we can try also our security, because this kind of movie is a $1 billion, $2 billion movie. If somebody steals it before it's shown in theaters, you're dead. So we tested a lot of our Cirrus cloud computing software here, platform. Another example of working with other companies is this the HP and Shell sensing solution, where our census research, we shared with Shell and placed them in a lot of places to see where to drill, to sense where would be the best way to drill instead of, before having to drill and spend a lot of money. So this is another example. Extraction more efficient. This is the other one. This is the last one I'm going to show. It's about the live intelligence, where you can immediately sense what people are saying about a product or service. You don't have to wait for reports from companies. Right now, what you do is you get a report every week or every month about what people is thinking about HP printers or whatever, hotels or airlines, things like that. So here you can get say for example, HP has a new printer out. It's put in the market and there is a problem with the printer. So immediately people tweet or Facebook or whatever, and I bought an HP printer XYZ and it's creating me problems with the ink system or whatever. So immediately a company knows before there's a report a month later, so we can stop production, fix the problem, and reduce the impact of the defect, and advise the maintenance people to be prepared to accept and to respond to this defect. So it's immediate response. So what are the implications for engineering education? Well, as I mentioned to you, innovation is about people, resources, and ideas. And innovation, the people, what are the skill sets that people need? About 4 or 5 years ago, we brought this person, it's called Bob Johansen, to HP Labs. It's a book that I recommend you reading. Leaders Make the Future. We brought him because we wanted to understand what kind of skills and competencies we will be looking to the future people we hire in HP Labs and in the company as well. So it's interesting because many of the words he mentioned are not even in the dictionary. Things that, they're in his invention, but it's interesting. So as I go through this list, think about yourselves. Am I like this? How can I become like this? And if there are many professors here, how can professors become like this as well? Okay, because your role models are professors right now, so professors should be like this. So I'm going to leave this presentation. You can have copies. You don't have to make notes. It's already yours. Mobility. Ability to work in large groups, organizing, collaborating with many people simultaneously. Am I doing this? How can I do this? Influencing. Ability to be persuasive. How to change other people's minds or points of view. Ping quotient. Responsiveness to other people's requests for engagement. Ability to reach out to others in a network. So how fast can you find somebody who can answer your question or contribute to your idea? Keep your business cards. I have a distribution. Every time I go to any place around the world, I keep the business cards by country. And I try to put them in my Outlook, in the business cards, but it's quite difficult to follow up on that, but I have no secretary. So I have to do everything myself. Multi-capitalism, but it's not the capitalism that you think, politically. It's fluency in working with different kinds of capital. Natural, intellectual, social, financial. Do I know about this? How can I become knowledgeable? How can I acquire this competency? Protovation, fearless innovation in rapid iterative circles. This didn't work? Okay, let's start anew. Let's look for other people to see how can they help me change this idea. And in that sense, I always ask my students to work in teams. Because engineers do not work on their own. Never. So in the university, you have to learn to work with others. Share your ideas, share your thoughts, work on problems together, benchmark. So it's another word for copying. Yeah? You have to benchmark, but you have to know whom to copy. You're not going to benchmark with the least knowledgeable. You have to. In companies, we do that all the time. If you don't benchmark, you're lost because you never know what your competitor is doing. Okay? So you have to learn how to do that. Open authorship. 5 minutos. Creating content for public consumption and modification. Write down everything. Document. Write. Emergency. Ability to prepare and handling surprising results and complexity. When I was at the university, a university professor, I had 2 department chairs in 24 years. In HP Labs, I have been 10 years, and I started my 6th manager 2 weeks ago. So each manager has a different idea. You have to be flexible and change. Things change all the time. You saw Bill and Dave's video. You have to be prepared for change and how to make change happen as well. Longboarding, thinking in terms of high-level systems and cycles. Okay? Signal noise, filtering. So sometimes you Google and you get 1,000, 1,000,000 hits. Which one? You have to learn how to filter. And then the cooperation radar, which is the ability to sense almost intuitively. Engineers have to have that sense of intuition very strong. Who would make the best collaborators, or what is the best technology? Or, you have to develop that intuition by repeated, it's like mothers. They sense where their children are sick. My fathers, sometimes they do that. You see the person and their eyes, they're sick. Ideas also is another dimension of innovation. And communication is critical. You have to be connected. And I know that I'm talking to the choir here because students of these times, they're connected, either by phone, by email, by Facebook, by satellite, by all means. So if you see around some countries are not connected. This is a picture from, there's this website that if you go in there, you see the instant connectivity of the internet around the world. So this is how the world is connected. And you see the northern hemisphere is more connected than the south. This is US and this is Europe. So you have to be connected. Innovation is a culture. And to promote innovation, you need to facilitate these connections. And you need to implement policies. So this is Dilbert. Are you familiar with Dilbert? See? Yes? I'm going to start a high-tech company in the garage, like Hewlett and Packard. Some of the most successful companies started in garages. It must help to know, somehow. But then, it says, I wonder if those other guys had homeowner rules about not parking in the driveway. Sometimes processes, sometimes professors, sometimes your managers are parking in your garage, in your mind. So that has to be open. So how to promote innovation and creativity, I think we need to understand what an inventor is. It's a person who creates new inventions, of course, mainly technical devices. An entrepreneur who is a person who undertakes a business and undertakes risk. You invest and you undertake risk. And then the engineers, my definition is, the definition I like the most is engineers create a world that has never been. And then universities and people need to understand what needs to happen to make an engineer, inventor, entrepreneur. Not all of us are like that, only a portion of us, but universities and other working places need to understand what kind of ecosystem you need in order to promote this. You know who is this person here? That's Alfred Nobel with the dynamite. He was an engineer, an inventor, and an entrepreneur. These are the competencies of innovators: adaptive, learn, change, frame questions. We never ask students to frame questions. We ask them to solve questions. Be happy about this. Explore, experiment. Active patience. This is something I'm very difficult at. You have to be very patient. You have to listen. You have to be patient at failure, because failure is going to happen. Be open and collaborative. Be exposed to multiple disciplines, cultures, and ecosystems. Understand business constraints. I think I mentioned this. And, of course, last but not least, have a basic level of science and technology literacy. So it's needed, but it's not, Bill Gates didn't have a big basic, but he's just out. And what's the name of the Facebook leader? Zuckerberg? They didn't have much schooling, but they had the others very much. Korea is doing this very successfully, how to promote that innovation. They're reforming the engineering curriculum, and they're also exploring areas beyond the typical areas of technology. So I'm going to be ending with some concluding remarks. The challenge of developing an innovation with a purpose culture entails people, ideas, and resources. I've mentioned this before. And the way we should think about this is making education as flexible as possible. Within the boundaries of the history of education, which is modeled after 18th century or before, the kind of education system we have right now, giving students the place, the environment, the ecosystem to learn by themselves. Not expecting that the professor gives out everything they need to learn, but being able to learn by themselves and being able to explore innovation and creativity at their own pace with the limitations that each individual has for that. We need to do this because the world is changing so fast. Right now we have mega cities growing mostly in the east. The world is moving to the east right now. So I just bought my How to Speak Chinese DVD. Yes, I'm not kidding. I'm learning to speak Korean as well. Okay? I'm glad that you're here. I'm speaking in English. English is not my native language. It's Espanol. But English is the technology language. Okay? There's no way about it. The Chinese will be the largest country that will be speaking English by 2025. So critical to learn English, at least communicate in another language. So, and the future is here. I visited recently Masdar City. I don't know if you know about this place in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. Abu Dhabi exports 10% of the world oil. 10%. Just one country. One of the Emirates. And they are exploring how life will be when there's no oil. They are building this city which is independent of oil. Everything is recyclable, non-dependent on oil. This is the kind of challenge, not me, perhaps not you, but your children, but you will be enablers of this change. And this venture is not a university venture, it's not a government venture, it's not a company venture, it's the three of them. So I visited the Masdar City Institute, which is the first thing that is there already, which is the research and education center. It's a partnership with MIT and other universities that will develop the new breed of engineers to manage this. But this is not a problem only of Abu Dhabi or the Arabs. It's the problem of the world. It's a problem of each one of you to help create the new world that will be needed in 20 years. So I'll end up with a movie here and then 2 slides. One of them is my philosophy of life. Actually, two philosophies together. One is my driver, the other is my outcome, or my desired outcome, and a joke. I think I included a joke. I can't remember. So I'm going to end up here, and you will see a movie and 2 more slides, okay? Okay, and you can go to lunch. And I'll take questions. Microsoft. Dead. Okay. Oh, it's here. No. Sorry about that. As you can see, I have a lot of videos. This is my life. Oh, here it is. It's Apple. Doesn't like my computer or Microsoft. Oh, maybe it's a project.
Dhabi is an emerging global clean technology cluster located in what aims to be one of the world's most sustainable urban developments powered by renewable energy. The city is anchored by the Masdar Institute of Science and Technology, which will be the center of original thinking that pushes the boundaries in the fields of alternative energy, environmental technologies, and sustainability. Masdar Institute forms the nucleus of the research and development community in the city. It will be equipped with state-of-the-art laboratories, a knowledge center, and high-quality student accommodation. The building design draws inspiration from traditional Arabian architecture, whilst utilizing cutting-edge technology to minimize energy consumption and carbon footprint. The concept of sustainable living is not only a subject of research, but is also a practical way of life within Masdar City. Once the city is fully built, commuting journeys will be via Abu Dhabi's light rail transit and metro. An electric personal rapid transit or PRT system is currently being piloted at the Masdar Institute neighborhood. This underground PRT network allows the ground level to be fully dedicated to pedestrian access. Pedestrians will be able to walk around freely in this safe, pollution-free haven, enjoying the vibrant retail activity the city has to offer. The density of the city's streetscape is inspired by traditional Arabian cities, where the intimacy of adjacent buildings provides solar shading and promotes natural ventilation. Alongside the intimate urban streetscape, wider relief spaces are also to be found in the city. Avenues, parks, amphitheaters, playgrounds and city squares will bring further richness to the pedestrian's spatial experience. The first phase of Masdar City is currently under construction. When finished, it will be a world-class living and working hub of unprecedented standards. Businesses that invest in clean technology will set up research and development facilities, offices and light manufacturing here. In addition, the city will also host ancillary service providers that will support the growth of the clean technology cluster and form an important community that will safeguard the future of our planet. Masdar City will be the city of the future and the role model for the world.
Es de un colega en Argentina que me manda chistes así. Bueno, espero que les haya gustado y les haya servido de algo. Y estoy disponible para cualquier pregunta si tienen. Y si no, nos vamos a almorzar, a comer. In English, I forgot. Perdón. Excuse me. Too much in too little time, I guess. Pepe. In English.
What are we, the best universities, in order to create, to prepare the best engineers?
Okay, very good question. Yeah, 65 million euros question. No, it's not that expensive. Many universities are defining first the profile of the graduating engineer. If innovation, creativity, bilingualism, leadership, flexibility, all of those describe the engineer, then they're working backwards and say what kind of curriculum, theory, and what kind of learning experiences do students need to go through in order to develop this engineer. Because many times, 99% of the times, when we think about curriculum, we only think about list of topics, theory. And that is the only thing we do in the classroom, professors. Because that's what the definition of curriculum is. But in reality, curriculum is a Greek word that means race, carrera. So it's dynamic, and it involves falling and standing up. It involves experience. And so in addition to theory, if you say an engineer needs to be a leader or needs to know negotiating skills, somebody or many professors in their courses need to have a way of teaching and developing learning experiences for students to develop those skills. So somebody has to do it. So in order to develop that engineer, you have to, it's an engineering process. You have to think like an engineer. If I want this product, this individual, this professional, how do I call it the chemical reactor. How do I mix the things in a university to make it happen? So that's what universities are doing. Some of them are the driver is external, it's accreditation. Sometimes they do it because the new accreditation criteria in some parts of the world require that, and that profile needs to be consulted with the employers, the external world. So it's not what professors think is the profile of engineers, because many professors have never been an engineer, practice engineering. So they need to consult with engineers outside. The other thing is by making professors, like China is going to request this, to all the professors of engineering, they need to spend 2 years in industry to understand what are the skills and competencies needed in the practice of engineering. 2 things I mentioned. Good question. Yes? Yes. That's another good question. My university found the answer a long time ago. In my university, there's an office called the Cooperativa, or Co-op, C-O-O-P. It's a cooperation between industry and university. And that is to find internship opportunities during the la carrera, during the 5 or 6 years that you're studying engineering. And any given time in my university, there's 5,000 students in engineering, 1,000 are in industry working. Because that gives the students the maturity and confirms the need to develop the other skills, not just the technological skills. For the companies, it's also good because they know what the students can provide. It's like an interview, indirect interview. If they like what the students did, then they have a better chance. And companies have learned that if they want the top students, they're competitors. Sometimes students get 3, 4 offers, job offers. And a company says, well, I'll offer $40,000 to start, and the other says, no, I'll offer 45. So they have to talk. So this is how it begins. And I tell you, I think engineers should start at the bottom, not start at the top. In South America, for example, students, they would like to be managers the first day. You have to be managed in order to become a manager. You have to practice those skills. So like everybody else, if you want to manage a restaurant, you know how to cook or be a cook and then manage it. Because it's impossible to manage engineer work if you have not done engineering work. So my suggestion is to start at the bottom. If you're good and you develop your skills beyond what you learn in university, you will raise very fast. And I always tell my students, including the people who report to me, I don't have anybody reporting to me now, but I used to have a group of people, don't think about what's in the future. Focus on what you're doing right now and do the best, because that is the only thing that managers look at, the outcome of what you do. That will provide you the future. But if you start to look at the future before the future gets here, and it works all the time, it's a guarantee. So what are your plans when you graduate? What are you going to do? You're going to go to graduate school, you're going to go work here in Valencia or in Spain or go elsewhere? Go elsewhere? Try the Emirates. My goodness. They pay very well. Very well. And Singapore, oh my God, it's one of my favorite cities, and all about the government and the people there live incredibly well. The government is very focused on innovation. They're doing extraordinary things. They don't have water, they don't have energy, they don't have resources. It's a city island. They don't have space to grow. But they're always looking how to become efficient and how to offer more. They welcome collaborations. They like to bring people from other geographies to learn. It's an incredible country. And China, I tell you, China is difficult right now because they don't speak much English. But one of the goals is internationalization. So if you buy one of those DVDs or CDs to learn Chinese, China is a very good place. I am telling my kids, my children, my son is a computer engineer, and he learned Japanese. Why Japan? Japan has tsunamis. China doesn't have tsunamis. So no, I'm kidding. But China is going to be the next. U.S. is going to not fall, but the world is going to become more homogenized. No me sale bien esa. Yes. To find a job? Yeah. Well, there's a website. We have all the opportunities for co-op, for interns, for jobs all sorts in all geographies open right now. You go there. There's a lot of postings. You select the ones you like, and you tell them, I want to travel. I don't want to travel. I want to work in the day. I don't want to work during the day. I want to work in the nights. And I'd like to work in Asia, in US, and in South America. You check all of that, and then you submit your resume, and that's it. For HP Labs, it's another matter because it's yes, it's very competitive. That's why that is why the difference is what you bring, the value. There might be 1,000, but only 10% have the characteristics that we need, and that's why I showed those keywords. So you have to develop those skills to be able to be, and how to demonstrate that that has been a difference in your life. How those skills have helped you complete projects. What kind of projects are you doing here in the university? Do I know how to collaborate in teams? How many papers or reports I have written in English if you're proving yourself as a bilingual speaker? So, find ways where you can develop these. And this is the same message I gave the professors on Tuesday, right? These are the things that are important to industry, to the world out there, let's say. Not only for us, but for government and for the non-profits and professional organizations as well. Sure. Yes? Sure. Let me ask a question to everybody here. He's asking about how to cultivate innovation culture in your minds when there is no structure here in your curriculum to develop those. That's his question. What are my recommendations? And I'm going to ask a question to all of you. How many of you have had an idea, unique idea that nobody else has had? Raise your hand. An idea that you have thought that, gosh, we could do this. I mean, I can do this in a different way. How many? Raise your hand because I'm sure everybody has had. A lot of people had. A lot of people have had ideas. So my suggestion would be discuss this idea with a colleague, and usually somebody from business school is a good idea to share. Ask your business colleague, business student colleague, let's do a market study. Is somebody using this idea out there? What companies are developing this idea? Who are your benchmarks for this idea? Who is doing this idea? Which other ways? This doesn't cost very much. These people in business, they do this for a living. So they must know that. Once you do a market idea and you say, well, this is a good idea, probably we could do it. So start thinking as an entrepreneur. You need to know, if you have an idea, it entails probably more than one discipline. It might be an IT-related idea. It might be a product that involves, chemistry or chemical engineering or I don't know. So share your ideas informally. The university does not provide for a formal course like that, but perhaps you can share with other colleagues in other disciplines. Remember multidisciplinarity when I mentioned here. It's good to get the input from other groups. And then, over coffee or at night or the weekends or whatever, start developing the idea. Put it in writing, document it. I mentioned this also. Write what the idea, define the problem, define your solution, and define the steps you think will achieve that solution. Share it with other people, bring in other ideas, and all of a sudden, you will find yourself with what? A business plan. If you have developed that idea and ask a professor, like Bill and Dave did, listen, we have this idea. Can you lend us your laboratory to develop this concept? In my university, another two, we call it the learning factory. This is something that I mentioned in the professors. It's a place where students get their ideas done. A place where all of engineering disciplines come to work together. That's what I recommend. Do it on your own, but don't do it alone. One of the needs of human beings is to be loved and be accepted officially. So you need to collaborate with others. It's not to fall in love, but love is at the end of the road. Okay, well, I wish you the best of lucks. I'll be in contact, with the professors here, and be happy to answer questions after. And I'll leave everything, the videos, the PowerPoint, everything, and the lectures that I gave the professors the other day.